بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير. Lesson number 15, one of the most important lessons of Arabic language. And in this lesson, the Sheikh himself says that if you are able to understand this lesson, that means you have understood a lot of lessons. So these three lessons, lesson number 13, 14, and 15, they help us a lot to understand about the Quran. And I guess if we are able to understand these three lessons, we are able to understand 50% of the Quran. So we need to focus a lot. And most of these, as we can see over here, they deal with the present tense and how or when the present tense becomes majzoom, yani when it becomes sakin. So if we look at lesson number 13, we have seen that there are some huruf, jawazimu لفعل واحد, and they make one verb majzoom. For example, lam, we know we have seen that lam yalid wa lam yulad. Similarly, lamma means not yet. وَلَمَّا يَدْخُلِ الْإِيمَانُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. Similarly, we have li, lam al-amr, as we know, and it has 4 different forms: li, fal, wal, and thummal. لِيُنْفِقْ ذُو سَعَةٍ مِّن سَعَتِهِ. And then we have la an-nahiya, which is basically used for prohibition. لا تجعل مع الله إلها آخر. So these are 4, as we can see over here, jawazim that give jazm to one fi'l, لفعل واحد. So if one present tense is there and we use lam with that, or lamma, or li, or la an-nahiya, then it becomes majzoom, yani the ending becomes sakin. Then in lesson number 14, we have seen that there are some adawatu shart غير jazimatin. So these are the instruments of condition which are غير jazima, yani they do not make the mudari majzoom, or they do not make it sakin. Law and idha. Law, as we know that this is a harf, and idha is a noun, and this is also a dharf. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيب. So we have discussed in detail in lesson number 14 about the use of idha, whereas law we discussed about it in lesson number 13. In this lesson, lesson number 15, we will discuss about أدوات الشرط الجازمة لفعلين. So these are the instruments of condition which make 2 verbs majzoom. So look at the beauty of these adawat shart, that they make 2 present tense or 2 mudari or 2 verbs majzoom. They make them majzoom. What are those? In, aina, anna, ayyana, and ayyu. So we can see that all of them, they start with hamza, and then we have man, mata, mahma, kaifama, and haythuma. These 3 start with mim, whereas this starts with kaf and this starts with ha. So these are the adawat shart, instruments of condition, which give jazm to 2 verbs. We have seen in the previous lesson adawat shart, instruments of condition. So the first one, as we have discussed, is غير جازم. غير جازم, what does that mean? Neither of the 2 verbs, فعل الشرط or جواب الشرط, is made majzoom. Example: إذا تتلى عليه آياتنا قال أساطير الأولين. So we can see here that tutla is not majzoom, it is the regular verb, and similarly qala is also regular, there is no change. So nothing has been dropped from tutla and qala. So tutla is فعل الشرط and qala is جواب الشرط. So as we can see over here, that this is غير جازم. Then we have discussed the example إذا جاء رمضان فتحت أبواب الجنة. Again we can see that إذا is غير جازم, so the verbs will not be majzoom. So جاء is not majzoom, and similarly فتحت is not majzoom. They are regular verbs. There is no change made into these verbs. Then we have فعل الشرط. Then we have أدوات الشرط الجازمة. Number 2. What they do, they make the mudari majzoom. They make it sakin. So both the verbs فعل الشرط and جواب الشرط are made مجزوم. So this is the beauty of these أدوات الشرط. What are those? In means if. It's very common. It's used a lot in the Quran. So we can see over here, in تذهب أذهب. So it was basically تذهب and this one was أذهب, and we know that because of in, تذهب is majzoom and أذهب is majzoom. So we can see over here that in has the capacity to make two verbs majzoom. If you go, I will go. And let's not forget that these are conditional huruf or adawat, yani they are used for the conditional sentences. Similarly, we have ayu means whichever, man means whoever, aina or ainama means wherever, ma means whatever, mahma means whatever, and mata means whenever. Now you might be thinking that the meaning of man is who, right? Man means who. Ayu means which, ma means what, and aina means when or where basically. Mata means when, and mahma basically mahma is used as whatever. So why man means whoever? It will be translated as whoever when we use it in a conditional sentence. So whenever we use it for condition, may it be man or ma or aina or mata, they will always give the meaning of ever. So it will be whoever or whichever or whatever or wherever or whenever and whatever. Mahama is used always by itself, so that's why it is always translated as whatever. Whereas we know that mata means when, ma means what, and man means who, and ayu means which, and aina means where. But when we use them in a conditional sentence, then they give the meaning of whoever, whichever, whatever, wherever, whenever, and whatever. So similarly, we have another example. So here we have in, and here we have the example of ma. Ma tashrab ashrab. Whatever you drink, I will drink. So you can see over here it is translated as whatever and not what. Why? Because it is a conditional sentence. So ma tashrab ashrab, it was basically tashrabu and ashrabu, and they have become majzoom because of adawatu shart or adatu shart, which is ma, and it has the capacity to make two verbs majzoom. So ma tashrab ashrab, whatever you drink, I will drink. Now we have more examples, as we can see over here. تجزم فعلين, so jazim. So these we have discussed about mata, as we can see over here. Mata tusafir usafir. So whenever you travel, I will travel. So we can see here that tusafir is majzoom and usafir is majzoom. Similarly, aina taskun askun. Wherever you stay, I will stay there. Aina taskun askun. Both of them are majzoom. As we can see here, the ending is sakin. Mahma taqul nusaddiqka. Nusaddiqka. Whatever you say, we will believe you. So now we can see here that mahma has made, it was basically taqulu. Taqulu has changed into taqul, and it was nusaddiquka, and qu, dhamma has been dropped. It has become majzoom, so it has become nusaddiqka. Whatever you say, we believe you. Similarly, a beautiful verse from the Quran, in tansurullaha yansurkum wa yuthabbit aqdamakum. So it was basically tansuruna, and because of in, the noon has been dropped. So in tansurullaha, and this one, it was yansuru, and dhamma has been dropped because of in yansurkum wa yuthabbit aqdamakum. Similarly from Surah Zalzala, فَمَن يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ. So we can see here because of man, ya'malu has become ya'mal, and here it was yara. We know that alif maqsura has been dropped, because we know that when it is majzoom, then alif maqsura gets dropped, so it become yarahu. So it was basically yarahu, but it has been dropped because of man. وَمَا تَفْعَلُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ يَعْلَمْهُ اللَّهُ. وَمَا تَفْعَلُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ. So as we can see over here, it was basically تَفْعَلُونَ. So again, noon has been dropped because of ma, because we know that ma is used for adatu shart. It's used for condition. يَعْلَمْهُ اللَّهُ. It was basically يَعْلَمُهُ اللَّهُ. يَعْلَمُ, and the meme has become sakin. Why? Because of ma So ma has basically made two verbs مجزوم. تفعل and يعلم, both of them are مجزوم. أي معجب نجده في المكتبة نشتريه. So أي معجم نجده, it was basically نجد, and then it has become مجزوم because of أي, and similarly it was basically نشتري and ya has been dropped. We know that whenever we have مضارع مجزوم, then ya will be dropped in the verbs that are weak, that are manqus. When they have ya over there, then the ya gets dropped. So these are some of the examples. I hope these examples are clear. I hope everything is fine. Do you have any questions or anything that you would like to ask? I hope everything is clear.
Yes, Ustad.
Okay, Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Now we will see دخول الفاء على جواب الشرط. جواب الشرط should be preceded with fa if it, يعني جواب الشرط, meets one of the following conditions. We have discussed some conditions earlier. Do you remember those conditions? When do we add fa to جواب الشرط? It is added to جملة اسمية. وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب. Okay, it is added to جملة اسمية and it is added to جملة طلبية when we have istifham or when we have amr and when we have nahi. So in these four conditions, basically two and altogether four conditions, fa is added to jawab al-shart. Now we will see there are few more conditions where we have to add fa to jawab al-shart. So this part is clear. We have discussed about this in lesson number 14. So jumlatun ismiyatun, when it is jawab al-shart, we will add fa. And similarly, jumlatun talabiyatun, whenever we have amrun, wa nahyun, wa istifhamun, and then we have to add fa to jawab al-shart. Addition. What's the addition? We add jawab al-shart to fi'lun jamidun. What is the meaning of fi'lun jamidun? We can see over here. It basically means fi'lun jamidun is a verb having only one form. For example, laysa, asa, and these have no amrun or mudari'un. So we call them jamid because they are solid and because they do not change and they do not have mudari and they do not have the present tense. So that's why, or amrun or mudari'un. So asa and laysa, we have discussed about these in detail, and there are a few more as well. So whenever they happen to be jawab al-shart, then we have to add fa to jawab al-shart. For example, here, man ghashana falaysa minna, whoever deceives us is not one of us. Hadith. So we can see over here, man ghashana. So man, we know that this is adatu shart. Ghashana is fi'l shart, and laysa is jawab al-shart, and fa has been added to that. Why? Because this is fi'lun jamidun. Whereas talabiyya, we have discussed in the previous lesson, إذا رأيت حامدا فاسأله عن موعد السفر. So we know that اسأله, because this is a command, or this is we are asking him to ask about him. So this is amr, that's why fa has been added to that. And similarly, we have discussed about nahyun as well, and we discussed in the previous lesson. So we discussed in this lesson, so jumlatun ismiyatun, previous lesson, wa talabiyatun, previous lesson. So in this lesson, we have seen that failun jamidun, when it happens to jawab al-shart, it will always take fa with that. Similarly, qad, whenever it happens to be jawab al-shart, it will take fa to that. وَمَنْ يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَقَدْ فَازَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. فَقَدْ, why it is fa? Because qad happens to be jawab al-shart. Man is adatu shart. It was yuti'u, but because of man, it has become majzoom. Ya has been dropped, and it is may wa may yuti illaha wa rasulahu. So faqad faza fawzan azima. So qad will take fa when it is jawab al-shart. Sa wa sawfa, both of them. Sa wa sawfa. We know these are huruf al-istiqbal. They are used for the future. So whenever we use them as jawab al-shart, then fa will be added to them. In tusafir, fa usafiru. If you travel, I will also travel. So we can see over here, fa, when we add fa to that, it gives the meaning of also, and it has been added. Why? Because of seen. We know that this is used for the nearest future. فأسافر. Similarly, if you say in tusafir, فسوف أسافر, فسوف أسافر will be the same. So we can use sa for the nearest future, and saufa is little bit distant future. Distant future. Also, when lan happens to be jawab al-shart, then also fa will be added to that. Man labis al-harira fi dunya, falan yalbasahu fil akhirah. Hadith again. So we can see here that when lan is jawab al-shart, then fa will be added to that. Ma an-nafiya. Mahma takunu dhurufu, fama akdhibu. Whatever the circumstances be, I do not lie. So mahma, we know that this is adatu shart. It was basically takunu, and it has become majzoom, so it has become takun, al-dhurufu, the circumstances. Fama akdhibu, I do not lie. So this is ma an-nafiya. So we need to remember that fi'l jamid, qad, wa sawfa, wa lan, wal ma an-nafiya. And similarly, كأنما is also used when it is used as jawab al-shart, then also it is going to accept fa to that. And I think we have an example in the lesson over there. Yeah, so we have over here one very important note over here that we need to see. When jawab al-shart is preceded by fa, so when jawab al-shart has fa, its verb will not be majzoom. Very important. The verb will not be majzoom, even if adatu shart is jazimun. Let's look at the examples, so inshallah it will be clear. In tusafir, fasta usafiru. So now we can see over here. We know that this is adatu shart tajzimu fi'lain, but we can see over here tusafir is majzoom. But sa usafir is not majzoom. Why is it not majzoom? Because fa is connected to jawab al-shart. Yes, fa is connected to jawab al-shart. So whenever fa is connected to jawab al-shart, then mudare will not be majzoom. It is not majzoom. What we are going to say, we will say that in this case, the whole jawab al-shart is said to be في محل جزم في محل جزم يعني it is in the place of the jazm, but it has not been made majzoom in reality. And if we don't have fa connected to jawab al-shart, then it will be majzoom. For example, in tusafir, usafir. So now we can see over here, tusafir is majzoom, and similarly usafir is majzoom. Both of them are majzoom. Why they are majzoom? Because of in. And why we have harf jazm or alamatu jazm over here? Because we don't have sa before that. If we have sa before that, as we can see over here, then we will add fa, and then it will not be majzoom. Otherwise, it is going to be majzoom. So this is a very important note. I hope it's clear. We need to write down these small details, because these small details are very, very important. Then we move on to the point number 2. We have learned about kam, means how many in book number 1. For example, we say kam kitaban indaka. What are the conditions of kam when we have a noun after that? There are 3 conditions. Do you remember those 3 conditions after kam? Number 1, noun is mansub. Number 2,
Mansub.
singular. It is singular and it is nakira. After kam, the noun is mansub, it is singular and it is nakira. And this is also called tamyiz as well. So this is tamyiz. Kam kitaban indak, how many books do you have? Now we can see over here that the punctuation mark here tells us that this is a question. The punctuation mark tells us that this is a question. And we call this kamil istifhamiyatu, that this is the kind of kam that is used to ask a question. But if I say kam kitabin indaka, now there is a change over here. Kam kitabin indaka, it means how many books you have. How many books you have. This is like an expression of exclamation, ta'ajjub, when you are surprised. Like, wow, you have got so many books. So now you see here, after changing the i'rab, the meaning will completely change. When it is mansub, it is used to ask a question. But when it is majroor, then it is used to give a news. It is used as kamil khabariyatu, yani predicative, yani it is used when you are using, when you are wondered or when you are expressing your wonder about something, and then you will use the noun as majzoom after kam. It may be preceded by min, sometimes after kam we have min as well, and this min only comes after kamil khabariyatu. Only it comes after kamal khabariya. So if you say kam min kitabin indaka, how many books you have. So here, how many books you have, this is also exclamation at ta'ajjub, but there is an additional min. There is an additional min to that, and it will only be added to kam al khabariya, as we can see over here. Example from the Quran: كم من فئة قليلة غلبت فئة كثيرة بإذن الله. كم من فئة. Now we can see over here how many a small group. So fi'a, as we know, means a group. So how many a small group has overcome a mighty host with Allah's leave, with the leave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here we can see that this is kam al khabariya, which is giving us basically a news. So this is the difference between kam al istifhamiya and kam al khabariya. Istifhamiya is used to ask a question, like how many brothers do you have, kam akhan lak. Similarly, how many books do you have, kam kitaban indak, or yes, indak. But when you are using kam al khabariya, then the noun after this will be majroor. The noun will always be majroor. Sometimes the additional min is also used as well. This is additional min. It does not have any meaning, but of course when the noun comes after min, because it's harf jar, and then the noun will be majroor after that. Hatta has two meanings. We will just go through the examples quickly. It means till. For example, من جاء متأخرا فلا يدخل حتى يستأذن. Whoever comes late should not enter till he seeks permission. So here, hatta means till or until. It means till or until. Similarly, انتظر حتى ألبس. Wait till I get dressed. And number two, it gives the meaning of so that. So that. دخلت حتى لا أشغلك. I entered without seeking your permission, so that I do not, or I might not distract you. So here it means so that. So either it can mean till or until, or it can mean so that. So these are the meanings that we need to remember. Two different uses of حتى. أدرس اللغة العربية حتى أفهم القرآن. I am studying Arabic so that I can understand the Quran. So we can see over here that hatta, here it is translated as so that. So from the context we will see that whether it means until or it means so that. One more thing you need to notice over here, that after hatta the mudari is mansub. It is mansub. Why it is mansub? Because the grammarians say that it has hidden an into that. So because of that an, basically it is mansub. Hatta an. But we don't speak an, as we can see over here. So after hatta there is a hidden an. Because of that, mudari will be mansub. So please remember, whenever we use hatta with the present tense, with mudari, then mudari will always be mansub. Always mansub. Then we have ha'a is a verb noun. It is a verb noun. We have seen some other verb nouns before. For example, we have learned about amin, and similarly some other we have like hayhata. We have learned some of them already. And now we can see over here that ha'a is a verb noun meaning take. Yani it means khud. It means what? It means khud. So it is a verb noun. We know that whenever we use a verb noun, it functions as there is a hidden doer inside it. So because it is an order, it is a command, every command has a hidden doer inside it. There is always a verb and there is always a fa'il. So that's why the noun after this will always be mansoob. Please remember that, because this is basically fi'l al-amr. So after fi'l al-amr, we know that the noun is always mansoob. So it depends, like according to the person, we will use ha'a. If we use for singular masculine, for example, ya aliyu, so we will use ha'a. And why kitaba is mansoob? Because this is fi'l al-amr. Ha al-kitaba ya aliyu, yani take the book, O Ali. And if we talk to many, like the audience, if there are many people over there, then we will say ha al-kitaba ya ikhwanu, ha Basically, meme is sakin. But we know that meme, when we connect it with al, then we have to add dhamma. So it will be ha umul kitaba ya ikhwanu. Take the books, O brothers. If you are talking to a singular feminine, then it will be ha'i with kasra. We know that for singular masculine we use fatha, and for singular feminine we use kasra. For example, kitabuka, your book, and kitabuki, your book, for the feminine. So here we say ha il kitaba ya aminatu, take the book, O Amina. And for the sisters, if we have many feminine over there, we will say ha unnal kitaba ya akhawatu, take the books, or take the book, O sisters. In the Quran we have ha umuqra'u kitabiya. So as we can see over here, read my book. Ha umuqra'u kitabiya. Inni dhanantu anni mulaqin hisabiyah. So all this, like these beautiful verses of the Quran, we can see over here that it was basically ha'um, and we know that iqra'u, as we know that this is hamzatul wasl. So whenever we connect meme with hamzatul wasl, we have to put dhamma on that. So that's why it is ha'um iqra'u kitabiyah. Yes, please.
Verbal noun is there, sir.
Yes.
It always come amr, like amr meaning will come.
Ahsanti, that's right. Always. Very good question. It is always used as fi'l al-amr. And the beauty is that it is a noun, but it is used as a verb. So that's why we call it verb noun. It's a noun, but it has the function of the verb, and that's why it is called verb noun. And whenever we use it, it is used as an amr. So that means there is always a doer inside it. If there is a single person, then it will be yani anta. If it is feminine, it will be anti. It is for the masculine, for plural, it will be antum, and for the feminine, it will be antunna. So basically, it is ha'a, yani ha anta ha'a al-kitaba ya aliyu, anta. It will be anti, and here it is antum, and here it is antunna. All of them are hidden inside. Okay, now I have a question. Why it is ha'u or ha'um? Why not ha'unna? I hope you remember this usloob now.
This plural, yeah, sir.
Okay, but plural, for example, why don't we use ha'unna then? If
because
yes.
Sakila is there, sir.
Sorry?
No, Sakila.
No. When we have a mixed, when you are talking to the mixed, the audience is mixed gender, when the audience is masculine and feminine, then according to the Arabic language, only just for the sake of the language, then the verb or the noun that is used for the masculine. Always it is used for the masculine. Even if we have 99 women and 1 man, we will say antum. Antum. So this is a very important usloob, and we have discussed about this many times. So in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Alladhina. Alladhina is used for the masculine plural, right? It is used for masculine plural. So does that mean that it is only for the masculine plural, only for men, not for women? No. Now that means that it includes both men and women. So why here we have ha'u muqra'u kitabiyya? Because ha'u is used for the masculine. So when the audience is both masculine and feminine, then we will always use the form that is masculine. Did you get the idea? For example, you are attending my class. So for example, I have 5 sisters and I have only 1 brother. So 6 people, but I will still say antum tullabi. I will not say antunna tullabi. I will say antum tullabi because of we have a masculine over there. And this is the usloob of the Quran and the Arabic language. There is no gender discrimination. In inna akramakum indallahi ataqakum. In the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the best people are those who have taqwa. It's not the gender. But this is the usloob of the Arabic language, that whenever we have this kind of expression, then only the masculine noun or verb will be used. So whenever you are using Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, that doesn't mean that it is only for the men and not for the women. That means it's all for all human beings, which includes men and women. Hal fahimtum? Na'am fahimna, right? Fahimna. Yes, na'am fahimna. Okay, so if I have only sisters, then I will say hal fahimtunna if there are only sisters. But if I have sisters and brothers, then I will say hal fahimtum. And if you are singular, you will say na'am fahimtu. And if you are all masculine, then you will say na'am fahimna. Ismu tasghir, diminutive. You know that we have learned about the noun, the short form of the noun. For example, we have learned that a noun that has 3 root letters, for example, jabalun. And when we want to make the short form, we say jubailun, jubailun. For example, tiflun, we say tufailun, jabalun, jubailun. It is used for 2 reasons. It is used for to call someone or to call someone out of love, and sometimes just sarcastically, for sarcasm as well. So it depends like in which context it is used, but most of the times in the Arabic language and in the Quran, it is used out of love and respect. When you have lots of love for your children, for your kids, so you say, Ya Tufail, his name is not Tufail, but you say Tufail ta'al huna. So that means you are out saying out of love. So similarly, Jabalun is Jubail. Jubail means small mountain. Jabalun means mountain. Jubailun means small mountain. Zaharun means flower, and Zuhairun means a small flower. So the first one will have U sound, Dhamma, and then the second one will have Fatha on that. It has the sound of A. When we have the noun which has 3 root letters. If it has 5 root letters, then it comes, or 4 root letters, in fact, yes, dirhamun, so then it comes on the pattern of durayhimun, durayhimun, dirhamun, durayhimun. We have the example of this one, this expression, on the pattern of jubailun. For example, we have qurayshun, qurayshun, li'ila fi quraysh. Similarly, we have ruwaydan, famahilil kafirina amhilhum ruwayda, ruwayda. So we have these examples in the Quran. And if a noun has 4 root letters, for example, dirhamun, and then the short form will be durayhimun, durayhimun. Okay, now kitabun becomes kutayyibun. Instead of kutayyibun, it becomes, or kutayyabun, it becomes kutayyibun. Why? Because we know that whenever the weak letters are there, weak letters are always interchangeable. They interchange with one another. So here Aleph has changed into Ya, and we have Ya over here, and then we have tashdid on that. So it has become kutayyibun. Kutayyibun means booklet. Kitabun means book, and kutayyibun means booklet. And then if a noun has 5 root letters, for example, finjanun, so it comes on the pattern of funayjinun, funayjinun. This is just while we're learning the Arabic language, we need to know these things. These things are not very important, but if we learn them, it doesn't hurt. So we might come across in the Quran, or we might come across somewhere like in the Arabic language. So that's why these small details we need to know. As well. And then there is another beautiful expression over here. Yakunu. We know that kana yakunu is the present tense. When we have lam before this, then what happens? The ending becomes sakin. So it becomes lam yakun. Yes, lam yakun. Now what do we have? We have iltaqa'u sakinain. We have 2 letters that are sakin. Waw is sakin and noon is sakin. Which one has to be dropped?
Wow, only
Why?
because Nakisa.
Yeah, it's a weak root letter. Excellent. So when we have a combination of weak root letter and the regular letter, for example, we have alif, waw, and ya. So when both of them come together and both of them are sakin, then the weak letter will be dropped. So it becomes lam yakun, lam yakun. Now this is a beautiful expression or uslub of the Quran that sometimes even the noon gets dropped. So when the noon gets dropped, what is left after that? It is lam yaku, lam yaku. It is used in 18 verses of the Quran. We have some examples over here. So yakunu becomes yakun, takunu becomes takun, akunu becomes akun, and nakunu becomes nakun. So we can see over here. So it becomes yakun, takun, akun, and nakun. So from that, after further, like change or when we make it takhfif or the short form, then what happens? It becomes yaku, taku, aku, and naku. We have examples from the Quran. Walam aku baghiya, and I was not an unchaste woman. وَقَدْ خَلَقْتُكَ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَلَمْ تَكُ شَيْئًا. So we can see here, it was akun, it has become aku. It was takun, it has become taku. And قَالُوا لَمْ نَكُ مِنَ الْمُصَلِّينَ. Basically, this one was nakun, and nakun has become naku. So these are very important small details, and these expressions we have in the Quran. And inshallah, when we are learning the Quran, reciting the Quran, they will always help us. So then we have, so I hope this expression is clear now. And the next one we can see, the next one, the last one over here, we can see over here is Layla Nahara. Layla Nahara. So when we say Layla Nahara, we can see over here that this one is basically a combination of two nouns. It's a combination of two nouns. Layl wa nahar. It's a combination of two nouns. So when we put two nouns together, they become mabni. They become mabni, as we can see over here. The same is true of sabaha wa masa'a. So when we put two nouns together, then they become mabni al fath. أعمل ليل نهارا. I work day and night. نعبد الله صباح مساء. We worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala morning and evening. I think this expression is not used in the Quran. We have in the Quran ليلا ونهارا. إني دعوت قومي ليلا ونهارا. This expression is not used in the Quran, but this expression is also used in the Arabic language. That when two nouns are together, then they become like مبني على الفتح. So ليلة ونهار. There are like lots of points over there, but honestly speaking, as I told you in this lesson, the Sheikh himself says that if you are able to understand this lesson, that means you have understood so many lessons. And it's not really, it's not very difficult, of course, in the beginning, but if you just try it a couple of times, and if you are not able to understand, you can watch the recording, and inshallah it will be clearer. So I think we have discussed the points, the handouts. There are 7 points over there, so I guess and I hope that you will try to write them down, all of them, one example, 1 point. And inshallah, when we come back again in the next lesson, then we will start the lesson. So inshallah, in the next class, when we meet again tomorrow, we will start our lesson, and inshallah, we will try to complete the text of the lesson. The text itself is really very interesting, consists of lots of ayahs of the Quran, and also this is, I think, the longest lesson of the book, or of the 3 books. So it will take some time, but after mastering this lesson, when you are reciting the Quran, you will really appreciate. I mean, you will appreciate the idea of learning Arabic language. That there are so many uses of mudari being majzoom in the Quran, that you will find it on every single page, literally. And when you are able to figure out like why it is majzoom, what will be the meaning, how did that happen, inshallah, then you will appreciate the beauty of the Quran and also the beauty of the language. And don't forget to pray for me and for my family and for yourself and for all the Muslims. Okay then, inshallah. So inshallah we will meet again tomorrow. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.